In today's episode, we explore how meditation, dialogue, smiling, truth, and hope transform our lives. We discover the importance of speaking responsibly, releasing anger, detaching from rigid ideas, and living love without possession, cultivating serenity, empathy, and authentic inner freedom. Let's begin. 1. Meditation as a connection with life. Meditation does not mean withdrawing from the world or distancing oneself from society. On the contrary, it is a way of preparing to return to it with greater balance and clarity. Many times we think that dedicating time to meditation is an act of isolation, but in reality, it is an act of deep connection with oneself. When we learn to listen to ourselves, when we manage to heal our inner wounds and calm our emotions, we are in a better condition to relate to others. Epictetus taught that no one is free unless he is master of himself. Meditating is learning that mastery, cultivating inner calm, so that nothing external robs us of our serenity or disturbs our peace. The degree of distance we feel toward others is often a reflection of the distance we have with ourselves. Meditation is food for the soul. It oxygenates, purifies, renews. A person who feels good about themselves can listen, understand, and converse with greater serenity. Meditating connects us with nature, with those around us, and with the whole world. It is the door to the awareness that we are part of a greater whole, interdependent and full of life. 2. Ideas as paths, not as chains. We must not tie ourselves to any doctrine, theory, or ideology as if it were the absolute truth. Every system of thought is a guide, a means that can orient us, but it must never become a mental prison. Ideas, religions, or any spiritual current are only paths that help interpret the language of existence, and that language can be discovered in many ways. Seneca reminded us that he is not free who is enslaved by his own ideas. His teaching underlines that what is vital is to live with openness, without turning thoughts into prisons of the spirit. Therefore, no belief should be imposed above another. What matters is not the form, but the essence of what is sought: to live in peace, with harmony and understanding. Tying oneself to an idea as if it were definitive is closing off the possibility of growing, learning, and transforming one's own life. True spiritual freedom arises when one understands that the external is a means, not an end. The most important voice will always be the inner one, the one that indicates which path to follow in coherence with one's own truth. 3. True dialogue transforms. Authentic dialogue is not about imposing one's own opinion, but about sincerely opening up to the possibility of understanding the other. When someone truly listens, they not only hear words, but they enter into the vision of their interlocutor with a willingness to change and to be transformed. Accepting that disagreement is something natural is essential for living together. Marcus Aurelius wrote that truth never harms the one who sincerely seeks it. True dialogue is just that exercise, seeking together without pride, with openness and readiness to change. At the same time, striving to find common ground builds bridges of understanding and avoids unnecessary confrontation. Good dialogue requires respect and care in form, because the way of speaking can build or destroy. Serenity, patience, and the willingness to reconcile are the keys that open paths of reconciliation, even in the smallest conflicts. The willingness to listen with empathy reminds us that every person has reasons, stories, and experiences that explain what they say and do. Sincere dialogue enriches us and makes us grow together. 4. Speaking with truth and responsibility. Words have immense power. They can heal or they can hurt. That is why it is essential not to use them selfishly, nor to impress, manipulate, or harm. One should not spread what is not true, nor make judgments without knowledge, because that generates confusion, division, and hatred. Epictetus advised, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." His words remind us that language must be a bridge of clarity, never a weapon of destruction or vanity. Destructive criticism is often a reflection of personal frustration. When a person spends their time pointing out the faults of others, they usually do so because they are not satisfied with their own life. Criticism is often an attempt to justify one's own inaction by undermining the path of others. On the other hand, someone at peace with themselves does not need to diminish others, but focuses their energy on advancing toward their own goals. Speaking with authenticity means doing so with respect, clarity, and constructive intent. True words unite, strengthen, and open possibilities for understanding and growth. 5. Hope as a vital force. Hope is a driving force that gives meaning to the present and makes it more bearable. It does not mean denying difficulties, but trusting that after the storm, calm always comes. The lack of hope, on the other hand, can lead to the deepest sadness, to the feeling that no possible future exists. Seneca stated, "As long as there is life, there is hope." With this, he reminded us that even in the darkest moments, the mere existence of life opens the possibility of transformation, and with it, the strength to endure. When faith in a better tomorrow is lost, the present becomes unbearable. However, hope reminds us that life is a journey full of turns, ups and downs, and trials, and that no pain is eternal. Although suffering may be intense, the conviction that it will pass gives us the necessary strength to resist. Every difficult stage is temporary. Every dark night precedes a dawn. Keeping hope alive means sustaining the certainty that what hurts today may tomorrow become learning, strength, and a renewed life. 6. Your smile transforms the world. A simple smile can change someone's day and beautify the whole world. Although it may seem like an insignificant gesture, it holds enormous power, because the world is not transformed by isolated great feats, but by the sum of small everyday acts. Smiling not only benefits the one who receives it, but also the one who offers it, because it generates inner peace, serenity, and harmony with the environment. Marcus Aurelius affirmed that the best revenge is not to resemble those who do wrong. A sincere smile is that victory, a noble response that radiates peace instead of resentment. When we are able to smile even in the midst of difficulties, we radiate positive energy and share it with those around us. We are energy in constant vibration, and our attitude is the frequency with which we tune into life, as if we were a radio dial. If the frequency is negative, what we emit is noise, discomfort, and tension. But if it is positive, what we project is calm, confidence, and joy. The smile is a reminder that life can be lighter and more beautiful, and that every conscious gesture builds peace. 7. Transforming anger into understanding. Anger is a natural emotion that arises when things do not turn out as we expected. It is a reaction linked to frustration and the feeling that the world is not responding to our expectations. Although releasing anger momentarily may give the impression of relief, it does not solve the root of the problem, because sooner or later it will reappear in new circumstances. Epictetus advised that it is not things that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. Transforming anger begins there, by changing our perspective and cultivating understanding. The key is not to eliminate anger but to transform it. To achieve this, it is necessary to cultivate empathy, the ability to put ourselves in another's place and try to understand why they think or act in a certain way. Serenity is achieved not when everything happens as we wish, but when we learn not to be emotionally hijacked by anger. It is not about accepting what is unjust, but about acting from calm, assertiveness, and clarity. Transforming the energy of anger into understanding opens the path to compassion and true love. 8. The smile as a path to joy. Joy often makes us smile, but the opposite is also true. A sincere smile can awaken joy within us. Our actions and emotions are deeply connected, so what we do influences how we feel. When we act with confidence, that behavior reinforces the sense of trust. When we act with joy, we feel more joyful. Seneca said that we often suffer more in imagination than in reality. Acting with a smile breaks that chain, the mind brightens, and the mood changes positively. If at some point the mood declines, adopting a positive attitude can help transform the emotional state. Inspiring music, a film that lifts the spirit, reading a good book, or sharing a moment with someone who radiates optimism are resources that provoke constructive emotions and renew energy. The important thing is to remember that we are not slaves to a mood. We can influence it with small, conscious actions. The smile is one of the most powerful because it opens the door to lightness, vitality, and inner well-being. 9. Truth as a living experience. Knowledge is valuable, but it does not constitute an absolute and immutable truth. Ideas change over time, and clinging rigidly to them can be a form of blindness. What is essential is to keep the mind open, to practice detachment from one's own points of view, and to be willing to listen and learn from the experiences of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything we hear is opinion, not fact. Everything we see is perspective, not truth. Understanding this keeps us free, open, and aware. Truth is not found only in concepts or theories, but discovered in life itself, in the way we experience existence. Wisdom does not consist in accumulating titles or data, but in discerning the essential from the superficial, the important from the accessory. It is the ability to expand awareness, to recognize what truly makes sense. Living with openness allows us to grow and evolve, because each day offers the opportunity to review our beliefs and enrich ourselves with new perspectives. Truth is, ultimately, a path that is walked by living. 10. Love is not possession. Love loses its authenticity when it becomes a desire to possess. The same happens with wealth. When it turns into an end in itself, it ends up dominating us and becoming a prison. Money, used as a means to cover needs, enjoy life, help others, or invest in valuable projects, can be a wonderful tool. Seneca warned that whoever needs wealth to be happy will never be, because they will always depend on the external. True love, free from possession, resembles that inner freedom. The problem arises when the mind clings to it, when well-being depends solely on the amount accumulated. Living tied to the obsession with possession makes us vulnerable, because satisfaction becomes fragile and fleeting. What is essential is to remember that we are much more than what we own. True love does not seek to control or retain, but to share and give. And true wealth is not in material possessions, but in the freedom to use them as means to grow, to contribute, and to live with fullness and balance.